Hey Macky, it's Dr. Scott. I have some feedback for you on your visual analysis draft. Just a quick reminder of what I'm looking for in this assignment. Looking for a thesis statement that's focused and that's clear. I'm looking for strong supporting reasons. And I'm thinking about supporting reasons in this a paper of this length being your body paragraphs. Do your body paragraphs are they backing up that thesis statement that you have, the overall argument of the paper? Looking for supporting details, whether or not you're including good visual details from the murals, but also are you explaining how those details support your paper's overall argument. I'm looking for organization and transitions, making sure that you have paragraphs that are located in places where they need to be. Also need to see a couple of paraphrases that are integrated into your writing. And then I'm also looking for MLA formatting, the use of a visual in your essay, and a paragraph without any be verbs in it. So that's what I'm looking for. Where I think we'll talk about a few different issues in your draft, because I think the thesis statement it lacks clarity, and I'll explain that here in a second. But I think it's on the right path. It's on its way. There are places in your essay where you do a decent job of supporting it, and then there are places where I'm not sure how you're supporting it. So I think we can talk about a few different things. So here's the thesis statement. Where I found myself pretty confused was a view of change. So both murals represent, and I think you might need to argue like they do a good job of representing change in the color in race relations, or they don't do a very good job. I think you're arguing that they do a success. They successfully show the progress that the town has made. So that needs to get added. But this here confused me. Like I'm not sure exactly what you're saying there. Are you saying that the murals they do a good job of showing the progress that we've made, or that like everything is just kind of equal now? I'm not exactly sure where you're at, so that needs to get figured out. I also think that the introduction, right now it's talking about the murals, but you're writing really about race and how race is represented in the murals, and I don't know if this helps you out all that much. I think using one of the Scioto historical articles to talk about race in the area, I think that might be more effective. This seems like, hey, let's talk about flood walls, and then it's race at the end, and it's like there's a really huge gap between this sentence here and then when you get into the thesis statement. So in order to maybe make that a little bit more subtle, or make it easier for you to transition from the rest of the introduction to the thesis statement, I think you need to be doing something different in the introduction. The other bit of feedback, we're going to talk a little bit about organization. I don't know why you begin here. Why begin with this paragraph? And later on in your paper, you write about how the For Freedom mural comes before the 1937, the Branch Rickey mural. The For Freedom mural is actually quite a bit after the Branch Rickey mural. And remember, all the murals, I think you mentioned this in your introduction, it's all set up chronologically. So it's Branch Rickey, and then it's several murals down, and then you have the For Freedom mural. And you can kind of tell from the uniforms that the service members are wearing. They're more recent. I think they're probably late 90s, early 2000s. I recognize the Army because it was the same stuff that I was issued when I was in the service. So I think you've got the timeline wrong, which kind of confuses things a bit. But I also think that the organization, I don't know why you're starting here. Not just because the For Freedom mural comes later. I actually think you need to have both murals in the same paragraph. But I don't know why writing about... I think you're writing about actions here. Yeah, you're writing about actions. Why begin with actions? So that needs to be clarified. I think the purpose of this paragraph should be clarified as well. It took me a while to kind of figure out. I had to read it twice to figure out, I think Macky's talking about actions in this paragraph. So get that in there. Cut whatever is not related to actions, and I think you need to have both murals in in your body paragraphs. I don't think you can have one paragraph about one mural and one paragraph about another. The focus needs to be on how the murals got that idea across. And here, it seems like you're saying that they do it through the use of action. That's great. If action is a really big thing, and that's more or less what your essay is going to be about, you want to have multiple paragraphs about action, that's great. Think about the different ways that action is represented in the murals, and kind of organize your ideas around that. I mean, one thing that's kind of interesting about the mural, the For Freedom mural, is that you don't see the action like you see in some of the other murals that, like there's the Civil War mural, and like you're seeing, artillery and things like that. You see infantry on the battlefield. You don't see that here with the For Freedom mural. It's a very different thing. You see hints of them in the columns engaged in battle, but you don't see, like, the emphasis is on, the parade rest. And that's interesting. So you can talk about the ways that they show action, and then when they show, a lack of action, and how that lack of action is symbolic in some way. So there's ways to break down this action thing. It's not going to work, I think, to just kind of bring this paragraph here. That's not going to work. I think you kind of need to think through different ways that action is shown, and maybe you have multiple paragraphs about it. There's also writing in here that didn't seem totally related to what it is you were trying to say. It wasn't related to action, so there's cutting, I think, to be done in the paragraph. With the Branch Rickey paragraph, or right now with what you have as the Branch Rickey paragraph, it seems like you're writing about action, but you're not really talking about the murals. You're just kind of talking about Branch Rickey's life, and the essay is about the murals. So for the For Freedom mural, you do a better job of talking about things that are happening within the mural. But when it comes to the Branch Rickey mural, it's like you're not really talking about that. You're talking about Branch Rickey's life. And remember, the assignment's about the mural. So there's something that needs to get figured out there. It's interesting when you're talking about action, because you don't actually see Branch Rickey playing baseball. And I don't know, there might be something kind of interesting to that. Maybe they're saying that, like, his life was much more than just baseball. It was a tiny part of his life. He did all these other things. So there's something to think about there. Where the essay kind of gets off the rails for me is in the final paragraph, where you're talking about the setting. And you got the chronology wrong. I mentioned that. The For Freedom mural comes after Branch Rickey. But here, I'm really kind of not sure how this is related to race. And this might be an issue where you need to do one of two things. Clarify what the paper's argument is, and then go back through your body paragraphs and making sure that you're explaining how the body paragraphs are related to that clarified thesis statement, that clarified argument. Or within these body paragraphs, you need to get in there and you need to just explain how some of these details are related to your paper's overall argument. So if you think the murals are showing that race relations are so much more improved in Portsmouth because we have the For Freedom mural that has these people together, give us some details from the murals and then explain how that detail supports that argument that you have. So I think this paragraph I think you're probably going to have to end up rewriting it because it's built on an assumption that the murals are placed in ways that they're not actually placed. But I'm not kind of sure what else is going on here, particularly towards the end of the paragraph. So to kind of recap, I think clarifying the argument, especially the supporting reasons, are you really talking about action, setting, and all that, or colors, or what have you? Think about what argument you think the murals are trying to get across, or what message the murals are trying to get across, and think about how they do that, how they get that message about race across. It might be setting, it might be actions, but really kind of clarifying what those supporting reasons are, because right now the setting it's just not working. Within the body paragraphs, this is a big big issue, connecting the details in the paragraph to the paragraph's overall main point. So making sure that you're using details from the murals, not just kind of Branch Ricky's life, using details from the murals and explaining how they connect to the paper's or the paragraph's overall main point. Organization is kind of confusing. This is a draft, and that's fine, but you'll need to rethink the organization. I think there's something different you can do with the introduction, and then also remember that there's the other issues to address in the revision. Paraphrases, visuals, be verbs, and MLA formatting. All right, Macky, that's a lot. If you have questions, and you should have questions, this is a tough assignment, let me know. I'd be happy to chat with you. All right, I'll talk to you soon.